Hare Before I begin, I want to share a little something. Somebody in this room encouraged me, and I went ahead and did it. I have an audio book recording of Shamasundar reciting the book that he wrote, Chasing Rhinos with the Swami. And just this morning, I was listening to his thrilling description of carving Lord Jagannath, the first Lord Jagannath, and how it happened, and what Prabhupada said, and all those nice things. So I think every time I'm going to see a Jagannath deity from now on, I've just got to think about that. The devotees that had this experience, learning from nothing to something, to a little bit more, and a little bit more, it was all a big adventure, and Prabhupada was so tolerant. Without the detail, I won't say the detail, he says some detail. Lord Jagannath from a part of a boat that had washed to the shore and was in somebody's junkyard. And they walked away with it without paying for it. It's like, and cut it into 3 pieces and made Lord Jagannath on top of everything, with a canopy, and very exciting times. Okay, I'm ready for the ISKCON ritual. Haribo, Haribo. Now yesterday, can you do what?
Should I switch off this light?
Could you do what?
No, should I turn off this light?
Whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do. Yesterday we heard a little bit about the Rohini Sakatasura Nakshatra, remember? Well, Nandimuki heard the class. And, huh?
I was thinking of her yesterday.
Well, she was thinking of Krishna yesterday too. So she sent me a document which was forwarded to Shatarupa. New kind of document that you can circulate. Sadaputa, being Sadaputa, I mean, each devotee has some gift, and his was a very interesting gift. He wrote something, I don't know which book it was published in, but he mentions this particular nakshatra, and he does some research, and what science says and astrologers say, and da-da-da-da-da, and how it fits into Krishna's pastimes. So it's just a sharing, it's not like anything more than that. Devotees are amazing. And different kinds of amazing, because we're all different. Isn't it nice we're all different? It wouldn't be otherwise, so don't worry about it. It's not ever going to be, we're all the same, but very different. So let us continue. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sambhavadi Paschachade Satani Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. So where we left off at the end of part 1 is there was a festival, and in the course of the festival Krishna was laid to rest underneath the cart so that Mother Yashoda could take care of her other duties, and Krishna knew this was the opportunity to take care of this demon who came to harm him, so he finished him. And then the big clamor and all the commotion, and now we're going to hear Nanda Maharaj. Seeing all this, Nanda quickly came from outside to the inner area, understanding what happened with the cart. From the shouting of the people, he touched the child, held by his mother to his forehead and gazed at his limbs. When Mother Yashoda and all the men, headed by Nanda Maharaj, saw the wonderful situation, they began to wonder. So there's like astonishment and wonder. There's secondary rasas just here with that rasa ear. He's stimulating their ecstasies. They began to wonder how the handcart had collapsed by itself. Fearing that the death of Sakatasura must have brought some danger to her son, Yasodharani fell down on the ground. Rohini and the gopis affectionately picked up Yashoda and pacified her with the good news about Krishna's safety. By their comforting words, Yashoda regained her senses and wiped away her tears. Brajavasis thought this cart represented, this is Ananda Vrindavan Champu. This cart represented auspiciousness, since it remained in their house for so long without moving. How did this cart suddenly become inauspicious? The perfect boy, this perfect boy, is the sum total of all pious activities. Although many heavy brass pots crashed down, none of them touched the tender limbs of Krishna, whose glossy body is smeared with musk. Nice description. Fearing some evil spirits, Mother Yashoda picked up the crying child. So Krishna's crying. Glory to Krishna. She believed the influence of bad planets to be the cause of the accident. They became peaceful and then asked the boys who were around the cart. Remember from yesterday? At that time, the small children present asserted that the cart had been kicked apart by baby Krishna. That boy spoke. Hear from me. When he raised his foot and touched the cart went upwards like a bird. They could not believe the statements of the children, and therefore they neglected these statements as being childish talk. The assembled gopis and gopas, unaware that Krishna is always unlimited, could not believe that baby Krishna had such inconceivable power. So remember from yesterday, we also heard in the introduction section, this and other childhood pastimes, specifically this in the Trinavarta, Krishna is showing Aishvarya. But he's showing Aishvarya to people that don't have a hint or a clue or even an inclination to think of him as an all-powerful something or other. So any other plausible explanation, like these kids are just talking, or it was bad planets or something, that's more plausible. So here we go. Here's Harisuri. Why didn't the Brajavasis believe the Gopa children? They thought Krishna is, from the verse itself, he just takes the words of the verse itself and does what poets will sometimes do. This child, Krishna, surrounded by women, is without strength and without Balaram. So how can he have so much strength to break the cart? That is why the Brajavasis did not believe the Gopa boys. So there's his comment on that verse. So we haven't gone so far. Chapter 7, text 10. The strong, stout cowherd men assembled the pots and paraphernalia on the handcart and set it up as before. It was heavy stuff. The cart was repaired and placed in its original position by some strong cowherd men. This proved that the cart was very large. We heard how large. Really large. The cowherd men worshipped the cart because the cart was one of their main possessions, being the abode of Lakshmi and the storehouse of their accumulated wealth. The cart was the main shelter of the cowherds. The people then restored the huge cart to its previous position. I'm trying to remember which contemporary learned Vaishnava was describing the practice of, I can't remember the details. The details were very nice, but the essence is that traditionally in Vedic culture, there is an understanding, there was and is an understanding that there are presiding deities over elements. And the tendency to see the presiding deities of those elements as something worthy of their attention and meaningful and, a part of their way of life. You can say their religion. It's a Vedic picture. Over time, vestiges in Greece and this place and that place that also had philosophy and culture became understood as part of their culture, not understanding necessarily the root of this is the Vedic culture. And then over time it became pagan, given a bad name, paganism. I can't remember the details, but whoever was writing this, they're tracing out how theism replaced paganism. Like theism is good and paganism is not good. So the whole idea of the personification of deities, of demigods and the elements and so forth and so on, very primitive, only very foolish people have those ideas. But it is part of Vedic culture. And these Brijbasis, they're not Brahmanas, they're Vaishyas, but they all have a sense of closeness to nature and meaningfulness of the elements within nature and events within nature, and they look to the cause and effect of things beyond the superficial cause and effect of things. In part because their training and their culture, but and then also reality. But they couldn't see. This is part of the sweetness we mentioned. I spent some time yesterday, again today. The sweetness feature, we hear this many places and many times. The personality of Godhead He's the Almighty. He's the supreme, all-powerful. They'll probably be singing this in church today. O merciful and mighty. that God is all powerful. So the negative is don't mess. Better watch out, because you could get smashed by a lightning bolt can come from the sky and zap, and you're finished. So don't miss. But that mercifulness of the Supreme is invested in different entities, and they do different things. So behind events, there's a cause, and behind that cause, there's a higher cause. And the residents of Vrindavan were like that. They were Vaishnavas. Largely, they were worshippers of Narayana. They're Vaishnavas. But as worshippers of Narayana, they had different activities. That there was Vedic, like worshipping Indra, because there was sufficient rain, and they're Vaishyas, and we're going to offer our gratitude to Indra. It's not like offering gratitude to Indra means we're disrespecting Narayana. It's part of respecting Narayana to offer some words of gratitude and sacrifice to the representatives of Narayana. Or the whole section where Nanda leads them, and they go on Shivaratri to a temple where there's a temple of Lord Shiva. They're not Shaivites, they're Vaishnavas, but they're respecting Lord Shiva in a way that we respect Lord Shiva. Or that the gopis worshipping Katyayani. They weren't worshipping the Katyayani that demigoddess worshippers worship. They weren't doing that. Anyway, it takes an appreciation of culture which many of us don't have, and even those that have culture, it's kind of distorted by Kali Yuga misinformation and so forth. So whatever our backgrounds are situated in this room and in the Hare Krishna movement, we start with something, and it's a misconception. Do we start with, or a distorted conception, or something, and then to realign it with reality? The tendency is to stay with what was previously our conceptions. It's tendency, it's natural tendency. And progress means to appreciate, start to realign our thinking process to match their thinking process. And these Vrijbasis, they're the most exalted of all the devotees of the Lord. And there's many exalted devotees of the Lord, and they're the most exalted. And they're very simple. So the understanding of what's the cause behind the cause behind the cause, behind the effect. There's a cause, and behind that cause there's something. So they're not necessarily attributing Narayana has sanctioned that this cart would collapse, because otherwise how could the cart collapse? They're looking at other causes. So bad omens, bad configuration of stars, just like we heard. Just like we heard. Rohini Nakshatra. Rohini Shakata Nakshatra. And somehow they knew about these things. They're not brahmanas, but they knew about these things. Just village cowherd and agricultural people. They knew about these things. So it's very elevated. It's nice to keep that in mind, how they went about doing what they did. So they put the cart back together again. After Brahmins chanted Vedic hymns and performed an auspicious ritualistic ceremony, we heard Swasti Vachana to counteract any inauspiciousness that may have been the cause or still lingering. Yashoda allowed him to suck her breast. So the maternal affection. As Yashoda fondly fed Krishna the milk dripping from her breasts, he gradually fell asleep. Then she tucked Krishna back in his bed under the cart, just as before. Krishna is called Adhoksaja after killing the demon Sakatasura. This is Baladev Vidyabhusan, who made a commentary on Vishnu Sahasranam, and this is his commentary on Adhoksaja. Adhoksaja was affixed as a name given to Krishna after this pastime. Adhoksaja means that which transcends the limits of sense perception or sensuous experience. So, inexplicable event. The boys said, the parents thought, nobody knew. Astonishment, wonder, mission accomplished. Or one who conquers all materialistic attempts to be seen. Adhoksaja. Aksa ja, adhoksaja. So he was beyond the limits of the senses to see. Literally. He can't be seen by these material senses, particularly the eyes. But he can be seen. He can be seen when he reveals himself or wishes that others can see him. So we should understand just a further appreciation, same as what we heard Jiva Goswami write yesterday, the commentary at the end. He performs these pastimes for the benefit of living entities that are in this world that don't have a clue about beyond this world. And so he appears out of mercy upon them. Now he has many things. He comes to engage in rasa, loving exchange with his devotees. But there's also he's kind to everybody, so the people that don't know about the source of everything, he makes himself visible. And as we were discussing, even someone who came to kill him, he sends him back to Godhead. It's like, wow. The previous demon became an assistant to Mother Yasoda. We don't hear, at least I'm not aware, that there's a statement of when he returned to Goloka, what was his activity. But he went to Goloka. He didn't just merge into Brahmajyoti, he went back to Goloka. Abhimana descended and took him. Just see is there a limit to the merciful nature of the unlimited Krishna? So one might think in humility or in other negative emotions, what's the use? These are very, very elevated devotees, and I'm not at all an elevated devotee, and so what's the use? Is it really possible? Or some things like that. Has any of those thoughts come to any of you? These are such elevated devotees, and we're like little pipsqueaks. And it's one of those things, like, if you have that idea, sometimes devotees have that idea, and they get stuck. They can't go to the position that it's not only hope against hope, but the mercifulness of Krishna is without limit. So is there hope? Or is hopeless? Toss in the towel, get depressed, jump off a cliff, do something drastic because it's hopeless. Or just hang out in jail, depression jail. Anyway, it doesn't need to be like that by any means, because Krishna is all merciful. So this Sakatasura is a nice example. We'll hear something about who he was in his previous life that's coming up. And hoaxes are the absolute truth, or beyond the limit. So here's this nice depiction. This is Garga Samhita, when the cart broke into pieces, the demon fell. Leaving his body of air, he attained a pure spiritual body, and after respectfully bowing down before Lord Hari in a chariot pulled by 100 horses, that's not 100 horses, he went to the Lord's own abode of Goloka. Phew. There's hope, Prabhus. Then some other details. Heavy utensils were piled on the cart. It required so many stout, cowherd men to put the cart together and pile up the utensils. But a mere touch of Krishna's lotus feet was enough to smash the cart to pieces and scatter all the utensils. Similarly, we have been carrying the burden of our bad habits for many lives. Some of us. With our own effort, we cannot do anything. But by Krishna's mercy, our bad habits can be destroyed in a moment. Just this morning, I'm going to say it. Shyamasundar was carving Jagannath deities, and Prabhupada came with somebody just to inspect his work. And on top of Jagannath's head was a pack of cigarettes. Prabhupada asked, "What's that?" And Shyamasundar, spoke this, but he wrote, "Okay, I caught my, jigs up, he caught me." So then he told Prabhupada what it was. And with his cane, Prabhupada touched the cigarette pack with his cane and licked his cane, and the pack went flying against the wall. He said, "No more." But he was engaging somebody carving Jagannath that he knew his habits. Then a little explanation. So what Prabhupada had done with them was he knew that they were doing these things. He says, so just smoke one less cigarette each day till eventually it's gone. Wow. He carved Jagannath. Wow. Whew. Powerful Acharya. So here's our nice description from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Sakatasura represents a load-carrying mentality arising out of old and new bad habits from this life and previous lives. So that's a little cartoon of a load of bad habits. And somebody's looking and seeing how astonished they are. They're carrying this big load. Don't carry your load. One of the skits, it was popular at some point in time. Some places it's maybe still popular, I don't know. But the title of the skit was called "Drop Your Rocks." And somebody comes, with a thing, just like this, with a thing over their shoulder and leaning over and, what are you doing? I gotta work work hard and etc., etc., etc. My dear friend, you don't have to do this hard labor. There's another way of living. You don't have to do like this. No, I got to do this like this. It's the, Sakatasura. Sakatasura represents dullness, lethargy, and false pride. So super soul and this super soul in the heart and in different situations of material life is being completely dull to one's own identity and the presence of super soul within. We had this really nice discussion when I was visiting in Portland, because there was the topic they wanted me to speak about was the pure devotee personalities in the first canto Bhagavatam. So one of the topics, of course, was the Pandavas, and we had already said so many things. So one of the topics about the Pandavas was Bhima meeting Hanuman for the first time. It's in way up in the Himalayas. And purposefully, Hanuman was lying there blocking the path. Anyway, different exchanges between the two. But with one flick of his tail, Bhima, the powerless 10,000 elephants couldn't lift his tail with one flick of his tail. It's just flung Bhima here and there. So I lost track of the particular point I wanted to make. There's powers invested in great devotees, and we don't have those powers, so we hear about those powers, and there's like, it's an amazing feat. But the devotees can be empowered to do things that otherwise they couldn't do. Prabhupada had said on a number of occasions, he was ready to take risks for Krishna, using his example of crossing the ocean, when before it was taboo. But he knew it was authorized by Bhakti Zino that for a sadhu to cross the ocean. You weren't supposed to cross the ocean if you're a sadhu. And he not only crossed the ocean, he started flying in airplanes. On the order of Bhaktisiddhanta. And the order of Bhaktisiddhanta was the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, etc. So we may find in front of us some opportunity for service that's daunting. Sometimes that happens, more than sometimes. And what are you supposed to do? You take risks for Krishna. And always, not foolish. Prabhupada would speak about his American or Western disciples. You're very foolish. I mean, because he's the spiritual master, he can chastise like that. We don't talk to each other in those ways. You're foolish. You Americans, you climb out on a limb and wait till you can hear the limb crack, and then you run back to the trunk of the tree. Don't be foolish like that. But he would take risks, but not foolish risks. He risked his life again and again and again. And he knew, because he spoke about it, when you become a devotee, there are people that will become envious. And they'll want to kill you, or restrain you, or this or that. And it happens. I mean, not the killing part, aside from, I don't want this whole discussion of what's what's going on in some part of the world, but there's two devotees that I know in China. The government decided, I don't know how they made their decisions, but they went after two particular devotees. And one of them has left the country, just like they weren't supposed to leave the country. They're just supposed to be under like house arrest. But they got the transportation and they went to Australia because it was too oppressive to be under house arrest. But and it was like, it worked. Like everyone in the ISKCON, Hare Krishna land, mainland China, 10 steps back. Whoa, Big Daddy's watching. But then there's also some devotees that still go out and distribute books on the street. For Krishna, taking risks. So the risk-taking, according to our capacity and the circumstances and so forth and so on, but not foolish. But when the purpose of pleasing Krishna is there, we stretch a little bit because we know that Krishna will protect us, not put him in a situation where he has to do something extreme. We just want to make sure he's going to protect us. But we take risks, and that's how we live our lives, within reason. And we stay regulated, but we have to, within that boundary of being very regulated, we also do risk-taking things for the purpose of the mission of Krishna consciousness. So here's the harmonist, Sajjana Toshini. This means this is Bhakti Siddhanta. The crushing load of empiric learning is overturned by the absolute might of baby Krishna at the earliest stage of the devotee's enlightenment. What does this mean? We'll spend a little bit of time. Krishna's killing demons in Vrindavan has some spiritual potency in helping us to overcome obstacles in the path of our devotional service. That's the general teaching. This is Bhakti Siddhanta, following the teaching of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who made elaborate discussions in 2 of his 100 books on this very topic. There's potency. It's not just, it's a lesson, yes, and there's potency in the pastime. Now, we may realize it, we may not realize it, but there's potency in the pastime, and the potency in the pastime is this. Krishna has the potency and performs this pastime, and we hear the pastime performed by him, so that the crushing load of empirical learning can be crushed by this pastime. And we don't, not in a frivolous manner, but with faith in the sweet pastimes of Krishna. We have faith in this. And so we like hearing. In addition to the pastime is very curious and very interesting and very nice. Krishna removes this contamination by kicking it aside. Here's Harisuri. There's several slides. He has a lot to say about this. By this pastime, Sri Krishna taught that first, one should accept a challenging situation by both humility and by lying under Shakata. Shakata is the cart, but it's also the demon. and then using your feet by fighting a battle at the right time, which would quickly kill the enemy. Sri Krishna thought during this grand celebration, my position under the Shakata is not good. So Krishna pushed the cart down. It is good that Shakata was destroyed. The surprising thing is, even going down the Shakata still attained the highest destination. Then the next verse. Oh, Sri Krishna, any wicked person who wishes evil for you will certainly fall down and get destroyed. This was clearly confirmed when envious Sakatasura, who was positioned high, fell on earth and broke into pieces. With next verse, with this one pastime, Sri Krishna killed the Shakata demon and gave pleasure to the hearts of his kinsmen, thus achieved two purposes with one pastime, or displaying the logic of piercing two targets with one arrow. You know, there's not very nice expression, kill two birds with one stone. This is a much nicer metaphor. Piercing two targets with one arrow. Or one of Krishna's qualities, with one thing he accomplishes many things. And he's conscious of these things that he's accomplishing at the same time, multiple things, not just two things. In his previous life, this is now from Kathamrita, Sakatasura was named Utkacha, who was Hiranyakashipu's son. Hiranyaksha's son. Once he went to Lamasha Muni or Lamasha Rishi's hermitage and broke some trees. That was a mistake. Seeing this, the Brahmana became angry and cursed him, "O evil-hearted one, become bodiless." From this deed, his body at once fell away, as a snake's old skin falls away. The king of demons then fell at the Brahmana's feet and spoke, Utkacha said, or Uchchaka, that's better. O sage, O ocean of mercy, please be kind to me. I did not know your power. O Lord, please give me a body. The anger of saintly persons brings a blessing. You're going to meet Krishna. We'll go back to Godhead. You may have a body made of air. When the Chakshusha Manvantar is over and the Vaishvaswata Manvantar has come, Lord Hari's foot will give you liberation. And from a book by Raghava Pandit Goswami, at this point someone may say, well, if Krishna is equal to everyone, as the Bhagavatam affirms, then why did he kill Putana, Sakatasura, Chanavarta, Agasura, and Bakasura, and a host of other demons? What is this? And the reply, the Supreme Lord has no, this is the translation of 10:38:22. This is the BBT translation. The Supreme Lord has no favorite and no dearmost friend, nor does he consider anyone undesirable, despicable, or fit to be neglected. All the same, he lovingly reciprocates with his devotees in whatever manner they worship him, just as the trees of heaven fulfill the desires of whoever approaches them. So, wish-fulfilling trees, not because of their partiality. So this is the response. Lord Krishna Chandra sees everyone with an equal eye. He does not have to perform any action to accomplish anything he desires. He is full of nectar. He did not kill anyone. Shukadeva Goswami confirms another verse from 10th canto. Persons who constantly direct their lust, anger, fear, protective affection, feeling of impersonal oneness or friendship towards Lord Krishna are sure to become absorbed in thought of him. By this absorption, one's freedom and salvation from material contamination is guaranteed. When Lord Krishna touches someone, that person becomes purified. So he touched the cart. And situated on the same transcendental position as Lord Krishna himself, therefore Krishna never kills anyone. His Vishnu expansion kills the demons in order to protect the earth. So here's just a nice illustration. A nice illustration is showing many different pastimes. The upper center, that's the Sakatasura demon being liberated. And Putana, this and that and the other thing. Pastimes. Om Sakatasura Bhajanaya Bhanjanaya Namaha. That's it. And tomorrow we'll hear a little bit longer, but it's a very interesting description of Trinavarta. And Lord Krishna's age is 3 months. So as it happens, children sometimes yawn. So when Krishna yawned, she was looking at Krishna, and she looked inside his mouth because she was just looking at Krishna. And when he yawned, he showed her the whole universe. And the details, and the details, and the details, and the details. How many descriptions? There's a very nice, somebody sent me a very nice class that was given by Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj of the multiple, he didn't go into detail, but he went to some detail, different descriptions of the universal form. As many descriptions as there are, they're different. Without making a list. There are a number of places. But in this 7th chapter, then again in the whole 8th chapter is dedicated to Krishna. He didn't eat dirt, but Krishna ate dirt, and then you look inside your mouth, and she looks inside his mouth, and what does she see? She saw everything, because everything is from Krishna, so he revealed everything is within me. But he did so the same, not the same, but it's very similar. He opened his mouth yawning, and he showed cosmic manifestation. Inside. So it's not like he's just got this outside and just hollow, and inside is the cosmic manifestation. It's just a shell on the outside. It's his mystical powers. How does anything become manifest? By his powers. Without his powers, nothing becomes manifest. The childhood pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan. So let's see if there's some discussion. Microphone? Do we have? gotta hit some buttons over here too. He's working on it. Okay, that works. Good.
Guruji, will you please explain the statement by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur at the earliest stage of a devotee's enlightenment? I didn't understand that part.
Two things. One is the pastime happens early in Krishna's childhood pastimes in Vrindavan. And second is for the neophyte devotee or the newer devotee, there are obstacles, the carrying forward of tendencies, previous tendencies, and very quickly, with a kick of its foot, Krishna kicks them away. From the very beginning, it happens. I mean, you're the one, you get the credit and the blame, this chasing of the rhinos. She gets the credit or the blame. She recommended, so I said yes. And, so many realizations and so much mercy poured upon him and Malati. And from the very beginning, very early stages, that's how they understand. It took a while, but they were in some not good places before they met Prabhupada. Good souls, but conditioned by the culture and the times and circumstances and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So from the very beginning, that answer your question?
So this load carrying tendency, that's something that a devotee has to very early on be prepared to.
Well, let go. I mean, it's not intimidating. It's just the mercy of Krishna. He'll help you. We have to let go, and Krishna will help us let go. And sometimes devotees say, ouch. And sometimes devotees say, I'm out of here. But Krishna's ready, and so we should be ready, but it's not like it's all on us. There's work that we have to do, but the good news is there's a relationship with Krishna, and he is very merciful. So he'll help. It's actually his potency that does it. We take it even in more rudimentary form. The holy name of Krishna does it. It's not like Krishna's our janitor, but he can make things that are unclean clean by his potencies. We just take shelter of him and his potencies, and as you said, be ready, because the potency is there for purification. And how quickly? That depends on our willingness to take his shelter, and the purpose behind our willingness to take his shelter. In other words, there can be material and spiritual mixed, and if the material and spiritual mixed, then it's not so full. Because when the material relief is provided, then it's easy to say, see you later, Krishna. Or slacken. So, Krishna's ready. Okay?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful class. In one of the slide where it was point-wise mentioned, humbly accept the
Yes.
calamity and then quickly kick the calamity. how, like, when we are in that, you have a habit and you have humbly going, you accepted it humbly because we cannot do anything.
Yeah.
But
You can bluff and bluster, but it doesn't do anything.
yeah. And the habits and the baggage claims, we are getting the load of baggage. How can we quickly kick that? We are reading, we are chanting, we are in association, but still it doesn't seem to go away that quickly, Maharaj.
This is going to be one of our Vyasa Puja topics.
Okay.
We'll spend an hour and a half at least on that topic. If somebody knows of the resource where Prabhupada told the following story, send me where Prabhupada, the words of Prabhupada telling the following story, because I don't remember the full thing. But there was, Prabhupada tells a story of one minister, Brahmana type minister, and a king. And the king asked him some question, something like, how long will it take? And the minister said, come see me tomorrow, and I'll give you the answer. So when the king came the next day, he saw the minister sitting by a pond or a lake or something, and there was a pot, a fire, and a pot hanging 6 feet in the air. And he asked him, what are you doing? He said, I'm cooking rice. And the king said, why are you doing it like that? So, because there's heat rising, and the pot is up above 6 feet above where the fire is, so it'll cook. But you can bring the pot closer to the fire. So how long will it take? Something like that was the question. Depends on the intensity, which is exactly what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in Madhurya Kandamati. Depends upon the intensity versus laxity of what? There's the activity, and then there's the submission unto the object of our activities of hearing and chanting. It's not just the activity, but it's the bhakti, the submission unto the person who is the object of our hearing and chanting. Proportionate to that, then progress can be rapid. And conversely, as much as we may be engaged in the activities of bhakti, if the heart isn't there explicitly and focused manner, having an intention of pleasing Krishna, then it can go on for a long time. Long time. Lifetimes. And Prabhupada often made it sound like so easy, but in that so easy, there's bhakti. And as bhakti awakens, then one starts, as your question indicates, and one starts to understand it's not just cosmetic. It's not mechanical. It's devotional. And devotional means that Krishna should be pleased. So how much is our intention focused on pleasing Krishna? That sound vibration was the following. A deep breath. Some of us have been practicing Krishna consciousness for some time. Some of us for a number of years. And some of us that have been practicing Krishna consciousness for a number of years have noticed that there's new people coming in the door. And as new people coming in the door, then we may need a bigger space, we may need this and that and the other thing. I was just in Portland, and they have to get another place because they've outgrown the place. You know, they pack it in, and they have to get a bigger place. And then there's municipalities and this and that, and you know, in Austin, Texas, they had a little place, and they're going to have to get a bigger place because when they have, especially when they have festivals, you know, it's the same thing happens here. But you know, there's so many people, and those new people that come in the door, what are they expecting? Well, different people have different expectations, but a general expectation is these are spiritual people. I'm not a spiritual, I'm a new person, so I'm not they shouldn't expect me to be a spiritual person because I'm a new person. But I'm expecting them to be exemplary. And we're not always exemplary. And as they get a little, you know, not just new, but a little bit beyond that totally new, they see stuff. You know, tension and stuff, you know, things that they see outside there, they see inside here. And, you know, it gives them a pause. And does the process work, and what's with these people, and all of those things. Now, what worked for Srila Prabhupada was he was that force of purity, that even things were unclean, things would become quickly clean, just like this question you brought up from the very get-go. But that has everything to do with his purity. There were many other organizations and people under similar labels, but not having at all the same effect. So purity is the force. So now, what about us? You know, Prabhupada isn't with us physically. He's there in the form of his books and his practices. But does it happen that things start to drift? And focus may change, and something that isn't anymore, and it becomes, you know, a modified version of something that it was, and then some time passes, and you know, time passing is going to happen, and the shape of things may change, but the essence should not change. So how to preserve that essence going forward in time? As new people are coming in and seeing us, whoever, whatever. You know, this whole discussion in Madhurya Kandambini has 10 times over amplified a concern. A concern is, what's the Hare Krishna movement going to be 50 years from now? And it depends on what we do today. It's going to determine what it's going to be 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now. And what is it that we need to do? Every one of us, you know, the Prabhupada's initiated disciples and people that are still, you know, serving him faithfully, loyally, and vigorously, and all of those nice things. And when those people are gone, then what? What's left? Look around the room. That's what's left. And what are we to do today to ensure that there's life, there's purity, there's vitality, there's inspiration in the Hare Krishna movement going forward in time, when new people are going to continue coming in the door? And they don't, you know, there are lots of things they don't know. And that's okay. We don't expect them to know things they don't know. But what qualities and characteristics should we have to help them gently come to know? It's, you know, it starts with our own personal example. And then there are interpersonal dealings. So that's a concern. And I'm inviting those of you that don't know about it and reminding those of you that know about it. Just this past weekend, I was in Portland, and Radhakrishna came, Radhakrishna Prabhu. He's a disciple of Tamal Krishna Maharaj. He's now an initiating spiritual master within the Hare Krishna movement, and he was there in Seattle for some number of days giving a seminar on something. And he came down from Seattle. We spent some time together. He's going to be here in lovely Naperville in January. As long as it doesn't snow, he'll come. And we're going to have a seminar on this very topic. And then next year, and then the next year, and the next year, and I've already have some guest speakers lined up for future years. Because it's important. Just so it's a general name, it's Vaishnava etiquette. How are we to conduct ourselves? Or how are we to become cultured so that we can, not in a cosmetic way, but in a, like Mother, we saw all those nice paintings yesterday. Although she's busy, she's personally feeding everybody. She didn't just send her assistants to go. She personally fed everybody. Anyway, how do cultured people conduct themselves? So reading the Bhagavatam helps us, and reading Chaitanya Charitamrita helps us. But then it goes in with the force of bhakti. That's really going to make the difference. And we have good examples. So we have to become good examples. Or else the Hare Krishna movement that we know today isn't going to be around. It'll be something, because there's property and there's whatever. There's some structure. But will it be the same? Let's do what we can do today so it'll be the same. And it starts from inside.
There's one more question.
What are the dates?
One more question.
No, wait, what are the dates?
10, 17.
Say it again.
17 to 20.
17 to 20 January. Tell your friends. And tell those who aren't your friends too. Second question, you have the microphone.
In one of the the commentary of Baldev Vidya Bhushan,
Yeah, you
Vishnu
wanna see it?
Sahasranama, it's unlikely, not common. Could you share some more about that book, Maharaj? Or any
Where was it?
Adokshaja?
Okay, going back. That's not it. There we go. So what would you like me to do?
Just wondering, more details about this book.
About which book?
Commentary on Vishnu Sahasranama. Baldev Vidya.
Well, great acharyas are... Baladev Vidyabhusan is most known for his commentary on Vedanta Sutra, which he was trained before he went to write it by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and then the other's history. But he's not so much known for his commentary on Vishnu Sahasranam, but he wrote a commentary. So you're asking for information about that book. It's just a commentary. It's not well known. But because I have a computer that doesn't forget things like I forget, I just did some word searching on Sakatasura. And lo and behold. So I don't know so much about the book. I haven't read the book. And I don't know if it's been translated into English, because they don't read Sanskrit. That's all I can say about the book. Anything else? Yes? Pass the microphone.
Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. There was mention of killing of different rakshasas as asuras.
Yeah.
So actually, I have been wondering since a long time, and again with that mention, it came across to me. Vishnu Bhagavan or Krishna Bhagavan is a maintainer, as per the two other lords. Brahma, Lord Brahma is a creator, and Shiv Bhagavan is Lord Shiva is considered as a destroyer. So how come maintainer Vishnu Bhagavan takes the duty of destroying the bad people? Is so yeah, that's my question, Maharaj. Maybe it might be out of scope, but
Okay, let me say back what the context first of all. The three, they're presiding deities of the modes of nature. There's the modes of nature, and then the presiding deities of the modes of nature. And Lord Vishnu is the maintainer, Brahma is the creator, Shiva is destroyer, representing or the presiding deities over the three modes, goodness, passion, ignorance. So now your question specifically is, Vishnu is the maintainer, why is he killing demons? Is that what your specific question is? In his capacity as the person in charge of the mode of goodness, the presiding deity of the mode of goodness, why is he killing demons? That's the question. I just want to be clear. Okay. Well, the modes of nature, they're working under the authority of the presiding deities, but where does Brahma get his power to do the creation? Where does Shiva get the power to do the destruction? From the source of everything. Everything comes from the source of everything. There's one thing that's the source of everything. So in Bhagavad Gita, I'll do it this way. At Chicago Ratha Yatra some years ago, it was by the lake, and at the end of the Ratha Yatra, and we're meeting people and stuff like that, one devotee brought a Chinese lady because they know it was going to China, and she was very enthusiastic and said, I have just one question. She said it 3 times. I have just one question. And her question was a 2-word question. Why creation? And, with an intense lady. Why creation? So I said 2 reasons. 1, because we wanted it. Not exactly we wanted creation, but we wanted to enjoy, but we're not enjoyers. We're servants. And there's one enjoyer. But we're rebellious. We want to be the enjoyer. Ishwaro ham aham bhogi. I want to be the enjoyer. So, but there's no enjoyment over there. I want to enjoy, I want to enjoy, I want to enjoy. Okay. It's not enjoyment, but here it is. Because we wanted it. And then the second reason is, for the purpose of creation, is, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, with generations of men and demigods I send forth this knowledge, like the user's manual, of how to engage with this creation in such a way you can restore your original consciousness, being the servant as opposed to the enjoyer. Now, the person responsible for everything is the source of everything. And that person who is responsible for everything says in Bhagavad Gita, from time to time he comes. And he has 3 purposes. One of those is vinashaya shaduskritam. Because the purpose, when it gets too off, people they're using their cell phone to crack walnuts. And so they're wrecking their cell phone. So, they slap their hand and say, don't do that. Vishnu comes, not Krishna. That was also specific. It's the Vishnu form, Vasudeva Krishna, or a portion of the plenary portion, Vishnu Tattva, corrects when things go off. To a certain, as always things are off, but when things become flagrantly off, he comes. And, he makes things nice again. So that's the reason why. Because the purpose of creation is another way of answering your question is, why are there jails? Why is there a police force? There's laws, just abide by the law. No problem. But there's laws because people do crazy things. So there's laws to keep them, and if there's law enforcement. Now, one idea of law enforcement is to beat on people. Some cops like to beat on people. But some people are, like near the New York Temple, the Brooklyn Temple, there's a little prison, but they have a nice name for it. They spray some perfume on it. They call it the House of Correction. Ideally, that's what it's for. People that are miscreants, they can become corrected again. It's like why creation. But supposing they don't want to become corrected again. That's what Vishnu does. Persons are they're persistently hurtful. Duryodhana, he was bad, etc., without naming names. There's so many. So he admonishes them. He relieves the earth of the burden of such people. It's good for the people that are being protected, and it's good for the person who's being corrected. Their slate is wiped clean. They can still do bad stuff afterwards, but the reactions of their past misdeeds is made squeaky clean. And they're removed from the mixing with people that were law-abiding or obedient to God. Is that okay? It's merciful for the person who was on the receiving end of being chopped or having their hand slapped or being corrected, and merciful for the people who are obedient and law-abiding and peaceful. Both. Jivana Jivana, back there.
I'm looking at the list of the demons and the anarthas they represent, and close to half, not half, at least have some representation of pride, including. So that's an observation. I want to see if you have any comment with that. Of how demon after demon after demon Krishna is killing represents pride.
So I'm because you're being cut off. No, it's not you. It's something. Technology. Behind the misconduct, there's pride. That's what you're saying? Pride is behind the bad guy that's behind all the corollary bad guys.
In Bhaktivinoda Thakur's list, close to half, from what I saw, including Sakatasura, represent pride as the anartha that is being...
Well, it's load carrying.
And it would include pride also.
Okay. So what's your point?
I was amused by that fact that many of them include pride, and
What does that say to you? It's pervasive. Yeah, it's big time.
and it's multiple times that Krishna is working with the devotee to...
Help the devotee become free from pride. Well, fortunately, you don't have any pride, so you don't have to worry about it.
It's just a mountain of it.
They have a mountain of it. She doesn't have any. But you do. She's giggling.
Yeah.
So the point that you're making is it's pervasive. It's a big one. Anything else you want to make? It's true. You've heard me say it so many times.
Yeah.
Everything, the phrase that I often repeat, I like, pride destroys everything good. So behind good or behind bad, pride destroys everything. And it's really easy to be proud. Just forget Krishna and you're proud. It's really easy. Falling off a log, it's real easy. So to overcome it, that takes some effort and then mercy. But the good news is Krishna will help, by these descriptions specifically. One more time, these pastimes of Krishna killing demons in Vrindavan or Krishna's childhood pastimes have a special mercy. There's a sweetness and there's a special mercy. And in that, a big part of that special mercy is Krishna's helping us to overcome some obstacles on our path as newer devotees or becoming sadhakas. And just by hearing the pastime, it helps. Krishna kicks it to the side. The potency is there for that. Okay.
Another question, comment, I guess.
Try again with the microphone and see what happens.
It's on. Krishna.
Try.
So, I was thinking about this last night. This how Krishna's feet represents slow-moving Saturn, and then my thoughts were going to how we experience as part of our lingering karma. We might experience, the 7.5 years of Saturn, and then I was thinking about how you were beautifully expressing how Krishna is Rasovai Saha. That so the Saturn that comes into a devotee's life, in one sense, it seems, and that's the question is, it's actually a loving exchange between the devotee and Krishna. For them, there's some rasa there to
Yes.
experience.
I'm thinking, well, as you're speaking of persons in this room, what to speak of persons not in this room, that are going through so prolonged difficulty. And sometimes it's this, and sometimes it's that, and sometimes it's the other thing. And difficulty is one thing, but prolonged difficulty, and then another difficulty on top of that one, and then another difficulty on top of that one. And, one's patience becomes thin. And start whining and complaining and, wondering and so forth. But is that mercy? It's the mercy is there. It's how we receive it, how we perceive it and receive it. In all cases, without exception, Krishna is kind. And if Krishna gives his special kindness to his devotee who wants him, and yet there's some tendency to, to stay stuck. Krishna is very kind. He removes that tendency. Just this morning, this is Shamsundar and the chasing rhinos. After the whole activity of Jagannath, carving Jagannath, the installation for Jagannath, and his Gaur Purnima, and big shebang, he was in the hospital for 2 days after that with a rare case of blood poisoning. So they brought in new doctors to come check out this guinea pig that's got this rare case of blood poisoning. And then when he came back from the hospital, Prabhupada asked him, "Where have you been?" And he explained where I'd been. I had blood poisoning. And Prabhupada, big smile, said, "You're so fortunate." What? I mean, that was 2 days. This isn't the prolonged. But, Prabhupada said, for all of your sinful activities, Krishna has purified you in one stroke. And he didn't, he trusted Prabhupada. He didn't really understand that it was Krishna's mercy. So behind misfortune is Krishna's mercy for the devotee. Now, someone that's not a devotee doesn't see Krishna's mercy at all. But someone who's a devotee may have their faith in Krishna tested. I've been circulating this nice statement by Bhaktisiddhanta specifically on that point. Krishna may put his devotee in difficulty to test them, their ardor and their determination. And it can be really a test. I mean, without naming names and circumstances, just from knowing different devotees in different circumstances, it's very difficult. Sometimes. And Krishna's mercy. Okay, someone else had their hand up over here.
Guru Maharaj, when one feels tiny and humble and gets stuck there, so what should one do?
When you get stuck in being humble?
Yeah, like when one feels very tiny and humble.
That's good.
Yeah, but getting stuck over there and...
No, that's okay. Get stuck over there. And then because Krishna, think of Draupadi. Krishna. Think of Prahlad Maharaj. And he's always there. There's Hare Krishna songs and there's, non-devotee songs. Call my name and I'll be there. Woo, woo, woo. Krishna's there. No, today you may not realize it, but take some difficulty for a while and call out Krishna's name. And you may call out with a different quality. And then you'll feel something because of the quality. Does Krishna need anything from us? No. If we offer something with love and devotion, Krishna can accept. Supposing you just do it routinely and regularly, it's okay. And then do it devotionally. And sometimes a pinch will help you get a little more devotional. Ow! And then a pinch that doesn't go away, a pain that doesn't go away. So the humility place is good. It's just, it's a flip side of pride. So don't stay in the pride zone, stay in the humble zone. And you stay in the humble zone and you get stuck in it. That's a nice place to be stuck. But then what do? It's impetus to take shelter. The one who's pride has no impetus. I mean, the Bhagavatam is filled with all these nice descriptions. For example, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, they were proud. And when Narada saw what pride had done for them, their opulence and etc., he cursed them. Stand as trees for 100 celestial years, which is a long time, with full remembrance of what you were before you became a tree. Because trees don't remember what they were before they were trees. And so they became very humble. And then they returned when Krishna pulled them over in his childhood pastime. They saw Krishna, and they went back to their position as sons of Kuvera, but Krishna conscious sons of Kuvera instead of prideful. So were they stuck in the position of humility? You bet. That's a good place to be stuck. If it becomes a negative emotion, that's forgetfulness of Krishna. The humility is not the problem. Don't say, it's not a stuck position, it's an ideal position. But more than ideal is the mood of serving Krishna, because that'll get you to the position of humility, which is just a nice place to be in. Flip it around the other way. Supposing there's this very advanced devotee who's arrogant. What's that? It's right in Madhurya Kandambari. There are situations where there are some elevated devotees that there's Durvasa Muni and other people like that, but devotees that become arrogant or have that capacity and sometimes display it. That's not ideal. So stay humble. It's a good place to be stuck with the mood of service to Krishna. Well, just wait a minute. You're okay. Okay, follow-up question. I think this is our last question.
What is the difference between pride and self-respect?
We have high technology. He's got to hold the machine up in the air so he can pick up the signal. What's the relationship between pride and...
Difference between pride and self-respect.
Well, this is a big topic. It's not exactly on topic. I think I'm going to pass. Let me say something in response, but it's not going to be what you want to hear. Once Prabhupada was asked, more than once, and on some occasions Prabhupada was asked a question, and then he asked the question of the person asking the question, please tell me what this has to do with the topic that we were speaking about. And they said, it's off topic, and Prabhupada said, please refrain from off-topic questions because it takes attention away from the main topic that we've been speaking about for an hour and a half. An off-topic question. It's a nice question. It's a very important question. And it takes away from the force of our whole discussion here. Okay? Hare Krishna. Really? The little one? Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I had one question from yesterday's class, that how did Krishna reach such a high cart?
You want to know
Stand
how
legs.
tall was the cart?
How did Krishna reach such a high cart?
Oh, because his legs are expandable. Let me ask you. I'm going to see your face. You got to move. Okay. Do you know what a dwarf is? You know what that word means, dwarf? Someone that's really, really short is a dwarf. Can you think of an avatar of Krishna that was a dwarf? Vamana?
Avatar?
Vamana avatar, right. His legs were really short. Correct? Because he's a dwarf. And so when Bali, who was very charitable, wanted to give him a gift, Shukracharya said, don't. His guru, his teacher, demon teacher, don't do it. That's Vishnu. He'll take everything. He said he can take everything. It's okay. So he went against the recommendation of his demon guru, Shukracharya, and he did what. So and then Lord Vamana expanded his legs. So Krishna didn't have to cover the whole universe. He just had to cover the cart. No, it doesn't say his legs got longer, but he was able to kick the cart. That much we know. So his power was without limit, however short his legs were. And he was just 3 months. Think about it. You've seen little babies, 3 months old. Goo goo gaga, yeah, that kind of thing. Powerful feet, powerful legs, expandable. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.